Part 2. The Hitbonenut Contemplation. Chapter 10. We must now understand all the particulars of the four worlds of Atzilut, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya in a manner of specifics. In other words, we must understand all the specifics in the matter of the 10 Sefirot of Atzilut, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, their lights and vessels, and their vestments, one within the other. Moreover, we must understand all their particulars, even how each Sephira divides into its particular specifics. For example, we must understand even the aspect of Chesed of Malchut that is in Chochmah, that is in Malchut of Chesed, and the like. Furthermore, we must understand the matter of the unifications and inclusions of the Sefirot in the aspect of the Keter of each world. Keter is the aspect of the intermediary between the upper world and the world which is below it. Briefly, the general principle is known that from the aspect of Malchut of the upper world there comes about the Keter of the lower world. This principle applies even to the highest levels. However, all those who contemplate should first contemplate the primal source, which is called the source of everything, Mikorah de Kula. That is, one should contemplate the essential self of the infinite light, Atzmut or Ein Sof, even before the aforementioned first Tzimtzum restraint, which is called the empty place, Makom Panui. Thereto, he should contemplate in a manner of particulars specifically. This contemplation is known as the lengthening in Echad, one, signifying that one is to contemplate upon the simple unity, Achdut HaPshuta, specifically. In general, this simple unity is divided into 3 levels, each of which includes 10 Sefirot. These 3 levels are called Yachid, singular, Echad, one, and Kadmon, primordial. All of this is still within the aspect of the essential self of the infinite light, Atzmut or Ein Sof, before the aforementioned first Tzimtzum. The aspect of Yachid, singular, connotes that he is literally alone. This is higher than the unity of parts, which is called Echad, one, as known. Accordingly, in the aspect of the actual essential self of the infinite light, it is not yet fitting to discuss the matter of the 10 Sefirot at all. For example, to say Malchut of the infinite would automatically imply an understanding that it was preceded by the aspect of Keter and Chochmah, etc. Now, in truth, even the aspect of the essential self of the infinite light, which is called alone, includes 10 Sefirot within himself. However, they are called he is wise, but not with a knowable wisdom, etc., to the point that we say he is not of any of these qualities at all, as known. The explanation of the matter is that in truth, just as the essential self of the infinite, Atzmut Ein Sof, is an absolutely simple light, so is his light and ray, which is called the infinite light, or Ein Sof. As mentioned previously, this is the meaning of, before the creation of the world, there was he and his name alone. This level is called the upper purity. This is the matter of the revelation of the light of his essence, specifically as it is. This level is called Yachid, singular. That is, there is nothing besides him that the terminology of unity or unification may be applied to. This is the meaning of he is one, but not in enumeration of 10. However, from the fact that they stated he is wise, but not with a knowable wisdom, etc., it is nonetheless apparent that there are various categories and levels, such as wise, understanding, king, and merciful, etc. Nevertheless, all of this is not stated in regard to his essential self, but only in regard to what he estimated within himself in potential of what is destined to come out in actuality after the aforementioned first Tzimtzum restraint, as written in Mikdash Melech, quoting the Arizal himself, and as explained elsewhere at length. This is also the meaning of the first general teaching of the Zohar in the beginning of the rule of the king, he engraved an engraving in the upper purity. The explanation of this is that in the aforementioned essential revelation of his simple light, which is called the upper purity, he engraved an engraving, which is the matter of engraving letters. The beginning of the rule of the king refers to when it arose in his simple desire. This is the aspect of Keter, whereas the aspect of the letters which he engraved is the aspect of Malchut of the infinite light. If this is the case, then there is a beginning and end, a Keter and Malchut, even in the aspect of the essential self of the infinite light. The explanation of this is that it arose in his simple thought and desire, Ana emloch, I shall rule. All of this is still totally within his essential self. That is, it still precedes the matter of the estimation within himself and potential of what his revealed desire for kingship will be after the first Tzimtzum restraint, which is called the empty place. The allegory for this, as known, is from the powers of the soul as they come into revelation from desire to action. All these powers and their specifics exist in the concealed light of the essential self of the soul, which is called the aspect of Yechidah. For example, when a person who desires kindness and goodness desires to do a particular act of goodness, this comes about because he possesses this attribute of kindness and goodness in the aspect of the essential self of his soul, which is called Yechidah. It is for this reason that this desire for kindness comes into revelation from its concealment. Furthermore, we must say that certainly this desire for kindness in the essence of his soul exists in a way of an essential Hayuli power. This is to say that it includes within itself everything that he may come to desire of kindness and goodness in every particular specific that may be asked of him. If this is the case, we must say that prior to his revealed arousal of desire and will to express his kindness in this particular deed, it was included in the essential Hayuli desire for kindness. It then came out of the Hayuli state to become revealed in this particular act. Furthermore, we observe that in the revealed desire for kindness there is intellect, wisdom, emotions, thought, speech, and action. It is therefore certain that in the source of this desire for kindness, while it was concealed in the essential Hayuli desire for kindness, there too it included these divisions of intellect, emotions, thought, speech, and action which it possesses. However, in the aspect of the essential Hayuli desire for kindness as it exists prior to being expressed into a particular thing, even though there too there are divisions of intellect and emotions, etc., nevertheless they are included and unified with an absolute unity. This likewise applies to any other particular essential quality, such as the quality of Gevurah, judgment, Tiferet, beauty or mercy, or Netzach, conquest, and the like. This is so until the attribute of Malchut, which is the quality of leadership. Certainly it too includes 10 qualities such as the desire and will for kingship, the wisdom for kingship, emotions, thoughts, speech, and action, etc. However, before it comes to an aspect of revelation in a particular thing, such as ruling over a specific country, etc., they are absolutely included and unified in the aspect of the essential Hayuli desire for kingship. This is similar to what was explained regarding the aforementioned essential Hayuli desire for kindness. If so, it is automatically understood in regard to the essential Hayuli attribute of Keter, Chochmah, Bina, Chesed, Gvurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut, all of which are in the essence of the soul, that it is not fitting to speak of them using a terminology of unification or inclusion, stating that they are unified in the essence of the soul, which is called Yechidah. This is because they are not separate from the essential self whatsoever. For example, with the aforementioned attribute of the Hayuli desire for kindness, which is embedded in the essential nature of the kind person, it cannot be spoken of as separate from his essential self. This is so, even though it is one part drawn from the essence of the soul itself, which is higher than having a desire for kindness in its essence, since this kindness is only a particular part of the soul's actual essential being, which is totally simple. However, although this desire for kindness is only a single particular which is drawn from the essence, it is nonetheless impossible to say about it that it unifies with the Hayuli attribute of Netzach, conquest, which is also embedded in the essence of the soul. This is because the two are both absolutely united with the essence and are not at all separate from the self. By way of analogy, the power of movement, which is actually included in the essential self of an animal even before it moves at all, is not at all separate from the essential self of the animal. Now, even though in the revelation of this Hayuli power of movement, that is, when the animal makes a specific movement, it divides into many particular components of the movement, it is nonetheless impossible to state that all the particular movements were included or unified while the power of movement still was included in the essential self of the animal. This is because at that point it was not within the category or definition of a movement at all, not generally and not particularly. This is likewise the case with the aspect of the revelation and spreading forth of the life force to enliven the entire body while it is still completely included in the essential spirit of life. Though this life force divides into various powers, such as sight to the eye and hearing to the ear, etc., certainly even before it came forth to materialize in the eye and ear in actuality, there was included in this life force a spiritual power and life force of sight for the eye in and of itself, and a spiritual power and life force of hearing for the ear in and of itself, etc. Nonetheless, before the essential self of the soul came to the category of the spreading forth of life force, even though it was included in it, nonetheless it is in the same way that the aforementioned power of movement is included in the essential self of the animal. It is only applicable to use a terminology of inclusion and unification of sight and hearing while these forces are destined and prepared to come into revelation in actuality to enliven the body. However, while they were still completely included in the essential self of the soul, it was as if this aspect of spreading forth of life force was completely non-existent. This is because the essential self of the soul itself is much higher than the aspect of spreading forth, except that it includes within itself this ability to spread forth and enliven as well, just as the essential self of the animal includes within itself the power of movement, as explained above. If so, how is it possible to use terminologies such as the aspect of unification and inclusion of the particular light and life force? Rather, it is only fitting in regard to the particular divisions of life force which are destined and prepared to spread forth into revelation. From this we are forced to say that all these particulars which spread forth into revelation exist completely included within the essential self. For if this was not the case, then where did these particulars in the spreading forth of revelation come from? This is like the light and rays which are included in the essence of the sun. In other words, concealed within the sun are all the particular ways of the spreading forth of the rays, etc. This will suffice for those of understanding. We find that there are 3 levels, one following the other, which are drawn from the actual essential self of the soul, which is called Yechida. The first level is the 10 essential Hayuli powers, like the essential Hayuli desire for kindness and the like. They are absolutely included in the essence. This is like the inclusion of the power of movement in the essence of the animal, or like the inclusion of the power to spread forth life force, which is included in the essence of the soul, as explained above. In regard to these Hayuli powers, it is not possible to use a terminology of unification of separate parts together. This is because they are completely included in the essential self, and it is as if they have no existence at all, as explained above. The second level is the aspect of the spreading forth of the 10 powers as they are prepared to come into revelation. This is like when the essential Hayuli desire for kindness comes to do a particular act of kindness. However, this is still before it is drawn out into actuality. It is only destined and prepared to come out to this particular act of kindness. Here, in this level, the matter of unification of the many particulars which are within it is applicable. For example, included within this are the intellect and the emotions of the desire for kindness, which are drawn from their concealment in the general Hayuli. The third level is when it is drawn to that particular act of kindness, only that it did not yet come out into actual revelation due to some lacking or obstacle. However, the preparation itself is already complete. The only thing that is missing is for it to come out and be revealed in actuality. In other words, he already estimated within himself in a manner of specifics everything that is necessary to bring this thing into actuality. This is to say that he estimated within himself in potential what is necessary for him in order to bring this revelation into actuality. In the aforementioned allegory of the power of movement, this can be seen when it is prepared and destined to come into revelation in a particular movement. In the example of spreading forth of life force to enliven the body, this can be seen when it is prepared to come out of the essential self. At this point, all the particular life forces, such as sight and hearing, are completely included in a general unity. After this, he estimates within himself and prepares within his power of movement how to move in a specific way. Similarly, regarding the example of the influx of life force, there is the estimation of the revelation and spreading forth of the spirit of life as he prepares within himself to enliven the body in actuality. Another example is the power of growth as it is prepared to grow in actuality. Here too, there are these three levels. Furthermore, all three of these levels are before anything came out into actuality. For example, in the power of movement, this entire estimation is before any actual physical movement. Or in the spiritual life force, this preparation is before it actually comes into a physical body. Then there is a change from a spiritual existence to a physical existence, such as physical movement and physical life force. The same is true in the example of physical growth. For this change of existence to take place, it is necessary for there to be an initial tzimtzum, restraint in the revelation of the spiritual hayuli. This is so that there may be a transition from spiritual to physical, as will be explained in chapter 12.